area. It could not be more perfect than it is right now in OKC. 67 degrees sunshine at the 11 a.m. Central Time. First pitch, as you take a look at the Arizona lineup, 2-0 here in the tournament. Number 2 seed coming in, Dakota Kennedy at leadoff spot. Sydney Stewart has been big for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Sid Stewart's going to be someone they look to today to make big adjustments against Nyjah. 0 for 5 when she played them in that series 3 weeks ago, and looking at her with that big home run yesterday, she's going to be a big piece, being able to make those adjustments.
That's one of the things, too, Danielle, you and I were talking about, is looking back at that series and being able to use that series and how the pitchers threw to the hitters as information for them.
But like you said, Madison, even if you're facing Nyjah for a 4th time, it's almost like she's a different pitcher every time, and that doesn't make it any easier whatsoever.
You would typically think that a batter, the more at-bats they get against a pitcher, it's going to start to sway in favor of the batter. But when you're facing somebody like Nyjah Kennedy and the stuff that she brings, it's like she gets better and better each and every time.
Kennedy gets her 19th strikeout in her 3rd appearance of the Big 12 tournament. 1 down for Reagan Shockey, the sophomore center fielder for the Wildcats, who come in with 45 wins on the season. Of course, their first year in the Big 12.
When you see Nyjah Kennedy out there in the circle, you just come to expect that she's going to throw with that high velocity. Upper 60s consistently, will even touch into 70 miles per hour. And she's going to bring in that rise ball, that curveball combination. But to your point, Danielle, the changeup has been such a key pitch for her, especially in this Big 12 tournament, because when you get these batters that are looking at those pitches up in the zone, to be able to drop in that changeup, she's been getting a lot of swing and miss on that pitch.
Slapped over to 3rd. That's Bailey Lindemuth throwing over to Lauren Allred. Quickly 2 down for Arizona here in the 1st.
And I think this is a good test for Nyjah going up against this offense for the 4th time. I mean, she threw over 300 pitches in that series, and she gets to face them yet again. So for both sides, Arizona to figure out how to make the adjustment, but for someone like Nyjah Kennedy, who's getting the opportunity, like this is what the postseason is going to be about for this young lady. She's going to be throwing 99% of the innings if they want to go far. So these are the types of games. How are you going to adjust as a pitcher? It's not easy.
These are the kind of matchups we live for. The pitcher of the year versus the player of the year in the Big 12 here as Devin Netz steps in against Kennedy. Not hit hard, soft liner to the shortstop, Haley Toney, and another scoreless. Not hit hard off the bat of Demi Elder, and quickly 2 down for Ryan Maddox.
Well, when we asked Coach Jerry Glasso before.
0-2 the count to the sophomore. Shep 2 for 4 in the tournament, 1 for 2 in yesterday's semifinal victory over Iowa State. Sydney Stewart had the big hit in that game, 3-run home run to break a 3-all tie. In on the hands, another soft liner, not a lot of hard contact against Kennedy so far for Arizona. Scoreless after 1.5 in Oklahoma. They've made it to the championship game. They're taking on an Arizona team that's actually ahead of them in the RPI. So you get a win here today. Then you start to think, well, are we going to be something higher than a 16 or a 15? There's the first hit of the game, a solid single by the freshman Lindemuth leading off the Tech second.
Well, something that he even said prior to this game kicking off was, I mean, if we were to win against Arizona today, based on where their RPI is, there stands a good chance that we could maybe even be the 11 or the 12 instead of the 16. So it's definitely things that coaches think about. You can't say that the athletes are always up on the RPI on the stats like us all the time, but
the players are just going out there to win the ball games, right? But you've got Texas Tech right there at 19 in the RPI, and RPI is not the only thing that the selection committee is going to look at. Going to look at strength of schedule and body of work and how you're playing even towards the end of the season too. Are you playing some of your best softball when postseason comes around? Just RPI is one of those factors that contributes to the selection committee's decisions.
Johnson fouls it off down on the count 0-2. That was Lindemuth's first hit of the tournament, by the way. First team all-conference selection, all freshman team members. So she's aboard, and time called here by Glasgow to talk to Alana Johnson, also first team all-conference selection.
Well, and this is kind of a deja vu situation of 3 weeks ago against Arizona. He actually didn't start Alana Johnson in game 2. And it was the first inning, and it was that Silva who started, and then they brought in Ryan Maddox simply because of her average against left-handed pitchers. He brought her in for a pinch hit opportunity in the first inning, which she ended up coming through. But I mean, over 500 average against the lefties and a 245 against righties. Like, those are the little things that coaches look at, and not entirely sure he knew that Ryan Maddox was going to get the ball today, but Johnson, the success that she has against lefties is big.
And getting some of those hits in those moments too can really turn your swing in the right direction at the end of the year too. When you get in to the ball game in those pinch hitting roles and you come through like that, she's been batting 500 over her last 10 games, and that's exactly what you want to see from somebody right in the heart of your order, especially when there's people on the base paths.
Johnson 2 for 2 in the semifinal win, 3 runs batted in and a run scored, 3 for 4 in the tournament. That gets away from the catcher, Stewart, and taking second base is Lindemuth. So runner in scoring position for the Red Raiders with nobody out here in the second. Maddox did face Texas Tech in that series that Danielle referenced. This is a line drive to left. Dakota Kennedy there, one away. That was a run rule win for Texas Tech as Tech went there. Danielle, you were there in Tucson. That was a big statement series for Texas Tech, taking 2 out of 3 from the Wildcats.
Yeah, well, and Courtney Lyle and I were there a day early to sit in and watch game 2. And when it was that run rule situation in game 2, we're like, dang, like, not expecting it. And that was such a hot series, right? Game 1 goes to Arizona. Devin Netz had that big 2-run shot. And then they got run ruled, and then it was a heck of a game for the rubber match. But Texas Tech came out on top. And like I said, Nyjah, over 300 pitches in the course of that series. That's a lot, and it's impressive. That almost gives me the old school days of like what it was like in the Pac-10.
Where you just threw and threw and threw.
That's
right?
all. That's all we knew.
Full disclosure on your old school days pitching. What was your season high for innings pitched?
I'm going to let Maddie say that.
352?
352.
Yes.
That wasn't your career total. That was one season.
Just
one season.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's not, I mean, you look at like Kat Osterman, you look at Monica Abbott. Monica Abbott with Tennessee had over 400 innings in a season.
I am putting you, no matter how young you are, in the old school category at 352 innings. Okay?
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Eric.
So here is Kennedy as she steps in against the freshman Maddox. That's another one that gets away from the catcher, Stewart. So a runner at third with 1 down for Texas Tech.
Some of these pitches up in the zone to Sydney Stewart back behind the plate, it almost is like she's anticipating those pitches being a little bit lower than they are, not quite getting that glove up enough to keep those in front, but that's a couple of extra bases now, and now you've got a runner over at third base with Kennedy up at the plate, an opportunity for a sac fly.
Well, and Sid's tall.
Very tall.
She's
yes.
probably 6'1". Like, she's got the levers. Yeah, pitch clearly way up, and you have to remember 1 run for Texas Tech sometimes feels like enough when Nyjah is throwing well.
Well, especially in this tournament since they haven't given up a run in their 2 games. Swing and a miss by Kennedy. Nyjah was 5 of 35 at the plate in her 2 years at Stanford. Been a bigger part of the lineup and the offense for this Texas Tech team. She's been battling a leg injury, so that's kind of limited her ability to run the bases a little bit. That's according to her head coach, Jerry Glasgow, who I think would put a parachute on Nyjah running the bases if he could. That's slicing out of play. Well, you got to protect, you want to protect your investment, and in this day and age, that is a literal statement.
Well, and she's the ultimate competitor, too. She hits a ball into the gap yesterday. She's diving head first into second base. So she is running the bases. She wants every single base she can possibly get.
Well, there was a part of me where I was like, what are you doing? We're up watching the game, and I'm like, don't hurt yourself.
We chatted with her after the game. Her uniform was dirty. So if you're, that's just the telltale that you're not just a pitcher out there. You're getting your uniform dirty. Right, Madison? Those pitchers never got their uniforms dirty.
Get out of here.
So this is something you're going to see quite a bit of here because the way Glasgow uses his lineup card, and there was a lot of shuffling on that lineup card, He will run for Kennedy. He might pinch hit for Kennedy. He'll want to keep her off the bases here, so a pinch runner here, and he's trying to maximize the number of substitutions he can have because she was slotted in a flex position and down in the 10th spot in the lineup. So it could get a little bit confusing. For me, not for Jerry.
When I think about Victoria Valdez, I mean, she's a hitter that has to get going. I know Jerry mentioned it prior to this game kicking off that she's definitely been a little bit colder. I mean, she had a heck of an April. When you look at March, I mean, batted 132. She brought her average up to 297. But you think about when you're getting into the postseason is when you really want to start to heat up.
And she's somebody that brings a lot of power up at the plate, too. Just 2 home runs this season. Had 9 home runs, though, a season ago. That's one of the best parts about the postseason, though, is it feels like a fresh start, a brand new season. Doesn't matter how it gets done, just finding a way to get those wins.
Well, and he's made it clear to her, too, multiple times. He said this in the BYU series and the Arizona series, like, I'm going to keep putting you out there, keep swinging. Like that Nemo mentality, just keep swinging, like even when the struggle is there. And sometimes you think for these athletes, like when they don't do well, there's that, oh man, there's someone on the bench that can come in and take my spot. And that's always in the back of your mind. But to at least have that confidence to know, even when I struggle, coach still believes in me. I'm going to be in the lineup. I'm a rock behind the dish. I mean, that makes a difference.
Solid single to center field, and Texas Tech is on the board. That's got to feel great for Victoria Valdez, who's been struggling a bit at the plate. She comes up with a run-scoring single. And
she goes after it, takes her barrel, gets on top of that pitch, and drives it right out into center field to bring the first run of the ball game across the board.
Valdez was 0 for 4 in the tournament before that RBI, and Texas Tech is on top. Michaela Garcia running for Kennedy at second. One away for Reagan Jennings.
And it kind of makes you think, how long is like the leash here for Ryan Maddox, right? Like you just don't want any lead to feel like it gets too out of hand. Like I said, 1 run for Nyjah sometimes feels like it's 3 or 4 when she is throwing well.
Ground ball to second, to flip to second for the force out as Valdez is retired. Runners on the corners with 2 down. Well, Devin Netz is the ace of this staff. She's had to work here in this tournament because it's been a couple of tight games for Arizona. So you wonder a little bit with head coach Caitlin Lowe how much Netz has here to offer today for Arizona.
Almost looked like we were going to have a conference.
We still might. The battery's going to get together now with Stewart and Maddox.
Everybody making sure that they're on the same page. They look like Coach Christian Conrad coming out of the dugout.
Well, and I think, too, when I asked him prior to the game kicking off, like, what's kind of the pitching plan, he said, we'll see how far we can get with Ryan and then definitely bring in Devin Netz. I think with 2 outs and the 9-hitter and Haley Toney, she got a hit yesterday but had struggled up to that point. I don't think making the pitching change just yet, trying to get out of this inning and then maybe starting a fresh inning with Netz next.
Ball 1 to the number 9 hitter, Haley Toney, who is really scuffling to close out the regular season. 0 for 15 to close out the regular season, 0 for 1 in game 1, and then yesterday, 3 for 3 in the win against Arizona State.
When you could tell she just was so happy. Like even seeing in the kind of post-game press conference, she just like lit up a little bit more. Listen, as a freshman, when you struggle sometimes, it's like, how do I know how to deal with that? And come up and have some clutch RBIs, that's big.
Well, and I believe it was her first at-bat yesterday where she actually fell behind in the count 0-2,
yes.
Battled her way back to a full count, and then ends up getting the base hit. So having those types of moments, those battle types of at-bats, even if you're fouling off a lot of pitches, sometimes those foul ball swings can kind of get you back on track.
You're exactly right, Madison. Down in the count, 0-2, 2-out single, scored 2 runs to make it 3-0. That scored a double here today, going to third on the throw, brings in 2 more runs. So Toney's great hitting continues. She's got 6 runs batted in and is now 4 for 5 here in her first Big 12 tournament.
when you see how quickly it can change, right? You can be struggling like crazy, and then all of a sudden you're just riding the high and the ball looks like a beach ball.
That's the crazy part of hitting, right? One at bat, the ball can look like a golf ball coming in, and the next at bat, all of a sudden everything's clicking. Your rhythm is back to the way that it has felt throughout the rest of the season.
Line drive, base hit. Maya Davis comes through at the plate again. 4-0 Tech here in the second. That's her 5th hit.
And drive it out to right field. She's somebody who really over the course of the past month has been pretty much swinging away all the time. Started off her collegiate career mostly as a slapper, has developed into a great power hitting triple threat left-handed batter for Texas Tech.
And I feel like after watching yesterday's game, like her wheelhouse is up and in. Like how many first pitches did she swing at yesterday and just like absolutely line it to right field? Like that seems to be her hot spot, but she keeps getting pitched there.
And she's got some good adjustability with her swing too. If she sees an off-speed pitch, she'll even let go with the top hand just to be able to get that last bit of extension to drop the ball out into the outfield. So she's a really tough batter to pitch against.
Elder with a ground ball to first. Nets will take it herself, and that will retire the side. But 4-run score for the regular season Big 12 champions. They're up 4-0 after 2.
Since 1986, so this is our home away from home, and it is the softball capital of the world. And I was talking to the coaches before the game, and the student athletes are having an incredible experience, and it's also aspirational because they want to be back here to play in the tournament. So it's very special.
You think about the viewership that has been soaring, record attendances in ballparks. How is the Big 12 harnessing the excitement of college softball right now?
College softball is very important to the conference. We got better through realignment. As you can see here, we have Arizona, first time in the conference this year, competing for our conference championship. Our schools across the conference are investing in softball, and our controlled media outlets are really amplifying and doing a ton of storytelling around softball. It's the right thing to do, and we're just glad that we can participate.
Tomorrow, Selection Sunday, looking forward to that, seeing where Big 12 teams may end up. What are your hopes and expectations?
We're very ambitious. We think we'll have 6+ schools in. It's been a great year for the conference, and hopefully it'll continue in postseason.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
Eric?
Morgan, Brett, thank you so much. I'd like to thank him for the beautiful weather, too, for just handing out kudos, because I know we are the fortunate ones here in Oklahoma City compared to what's happening in Chestnut Hill. The ACC championship pushed back to 3 o'clock Eastern time between Florida State and Clemson. That's fouled back with 1 down here in the 3rd. SEC championship between Texas A&M and Oklahoma moved up to 1 o'clock Eastern time in Athens, Georgia, because of weather. We're the lucky ones.
I keep looking up to the sky, too, as you're talking about the weather to make sure no clouds pop up.
Soft liner to left. Sniffen is retired. 2 down here in the 3rd.
Well, and it's going to be important here for Arizona to try to figure out, like, how they're going to be able to adjust, right? Like, they're pretty much going on their 9th and 10th ABs, and that second time through the lineup here and being able to pass on the information. Listen, Niger just owns the outside part of the plate to the lefties, right? So it's like, how are you going to barrel that up, barrel something up on top, not whiff through pitches? And it's hard because she's so good. But what I will say, Maddie, is like, she's not coming in on the lefties whatsoever, right? So as a left-handed hitter, I just want to see them try to find a way to make the adjustment. Easier said than done up here in the booth.
It's easy to bat 1,000 up here in the booth, right? But to your point, Danielle, I do feel like she's really working that rise ball in different parts of the zone, but outside to a lot of those lefties. Now, it does have that great late jump on it, which makes it difficult to try to get solid barrel on it. And I also feel like she drops in that changeup, too, when she feels like you're starting to time up that pitch.
Well, and she hasn't even had to throw it yet. That's what makes it dangerous, right? It's like the second time through the lineup is when you're like, oh, shoot, I'm trying to get on time.
She's got that in her back pocket. You know it's there, right?
For the up. And, you know, talking with Coach Amber Freeman prior to the game, she said we got to go after the rise. But, I mean, it's tough. She hasn't had to whip out the changeup. She's making it hard here for the Wildcats.
Couple of